Welcome back to CAD 100, and in today's lesson we're going to get a little bit further into the program. Last week I showed you how to set up for the different types of disciplines. This time I'm going to show you how to start drawing lines accurately. Now, AutoCAD has a default origin in it, and that means it's got a spot designated that doesn't change, that is 0 in X, 0 in Y, and 0 in Z. Alright? Now, when we talk about origins and we talk about how this program is set up, you have what is the Cartesian coordinate system. Now, this is something that I'm sure that you've had previously, and it's just going to be a little reference back to that, and we're going to cover that right now. When you talk about Cartesian coordinates, remember, your x-axis is this one that goes horizontally. Your y-axis goes vertically. Now, where those two cross is going to be your 0, 0. Okay? Now, anything in x right of this y-axis here to the right over in this area here in x will be positive. Anything to the left will be negative. And so on whenever we talk about in y, this x-axis goes across. Anything up above that in the y is positive. Anything below is negative. So in absolute coordinates, we always go from the 0, 0. So if I were to come in here, and I want to put me a point on here. Let me set that up real quick. If I were to come in here and put a point right at this point right here, that would be, x would be, count it over, 1, 2, 3. So x would be 3, and y would be 1, 2, 3 as well. So x would be 3 and y would be 3. Now always remember, in AutoCAD, it's always like the alphabet, x, y, and z. If you don't have three numbers in that little phrase, it's only, if you have three numbers, it's going to have the x, y, and the z. If you only have two, it's only going to be x, y. X is always first and then y. So whenever you're trying to tell what this is, it would be 3, 3. And if we come down to this point and click it, x would be first, which would be 1, 2, 3. So x would be 3, y would be 2. Okay? And the same thing up here. Count it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So x would be 5. Y would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Y would be 4. So it'd be 5, 4 to that point right there. If you come over here, now this is quadrant 1. Everything's positive, positive in quadrant 1. And over here to the left, if I click like at that point right there, x would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it's on the left side, so it would be negative 5. And y would be 1, 2. So it would be negative 5, comma 2. And this is quadrant 2. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now down here, if I chose this point, I'm left of that axis here. So in my x, I would be 1, 2. So it would be negative 2. And then y, I'm below that axis line, so it would be 1, be negative 1. So it would be negative 2x, negative 1 in y. And over here, let's say I chose this point right here. In x, I'm on the right side of the axis, so I'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Positive 7, 1, 2. So it'd be positive 7, comma, negative 2. Alright? So that's how you go about doing the absolute line method in AutoCAD, and you're going to have a couple drawings that's going to have that on there. So what I want to do is I want to take this off, and I want to draw something here. And I want to type in some text real quick. Okay. In the first point I want to start out at 0, 0. Enter. Where would my text go to? 0, comma 0. That will be my first point. My second point will be 5, comma 0. My third point will be 5, comma 5. And then I'll go 2, comma 5. And then I'll do 2, comma 2.5. Then I'll come back to 0, comma 2.5. And then I'll go to 0, comma 0. Alright, those are my coordinates. Those are my x's and my y's, and I want to draw it right here for you. Well, let's find where 0 is. So first thing to do when I start drawing an absolute line, I'll just hit line, and then I'll go 0, comma 0. That's my start point. That's my origin. And another quick trick to remember is make sure you turn all of these objects down here in your status bar off. To turn them off, if you click it, it'll highlight it blue. If you turn them off, it'll take that off. Leave your object snap on, and I'll show you that here in just a second. But anyways, there's my 0, 0 down here. That's where I'm starting from. And if you look up here, that's where I started. The next point is 5. Just type in 5, comma 0, and hit enter. Now, right now, if you've got a laptop, I want to recommend that you use a mouse. And it's nice if you've got one that's got the wheel on it, because you can take the wheel and you can use it to pan back and forth. Now, to zoom back and forth, to pan, you just smash the wheel down and you can pan it. So I recommend you getting yourself a mouse that has the wheel on it. It makes things a lot easier. Come on up here, and now the next point is 5, comma 5. And I'm just going to hit 5, comma 5, enter. The next move is 2, 5. So I'll just type in 2, comma 5, enter. The next move now is 2, comma 2.5, enter. Then the next move I got is x is going back to the 0, and x at 2.5 it stays 2.5 in the y. And then the last move would be 0, comma 0. It takes it back to its origin and closes the polygon up. And right there it is. And that's the absolute line method. If you want to take and measure this, you can come up here to annotations, hit linear, and you see where it's that green little square. When I come over here to these endpoints, that's because I've got my object snap on. If I turn that off, see, it doesn't let me snap. And you have to be accurate. You have to have that object snap on. So turn that on, and you can snap right to those points, and I can bring it down and click. And if you want to repeat a command, just hit your space bar and it lets you repeat it again. And you can go around this and check your measurements. Now, let's say for instance you mess up, like we messed up right here, and I goof my line up. It looks something like that. Well, if you want rid of that line, just hit escape 2 or 3 times. Clean yourself. It cleans the command area out. Come up here and click on it, and you see these big blue grips. And you can take those and you can move and stretch or do whatever you want to with it. But you can also hit delete, or come up here to this erase button in your modify command, and it'll get rid of that. Now, I want to start back at this point right here. Now, I could go up here and find that Cartesian coordinate of it, or the absolute coordinate of it, or I can just snap. Come up here and hit line, and with this object snap on, I can catch that point and take right back off. And x was 2.5, comma 2.5, enter. And I messed up again, so escape it a couple times. Come up here and click it, delete it off, come up here to line, object snap on, click it, and my next move would be 2, comma 2.5, 2, comma 2.5, enter. And then the next move would be 0, comma 2.5 in y, and then 0, 0. That'll take us back to our home point, our origin. So that's really handy, and I'll show you this object snap. If I right click that object snap right now and go to settings, right here, this is what it's snapping to. See, we're snapping to an endpoint. I've also got center, node, quadrant, intersect, extension. You can turn any of these on right here, and it'll automatically, as long as you click this on, it'll catch it. I can even click midpoint, and check this out. When I go to line, it'll catch the midpoint right there of that line. Okay? So it's a really handy little thing to use. And there's a few more little extra quick techniques that's involved, and we'll show it to you as we kind of progress. Don't want to put too much on you at first. But that's the absolute line method. You just have to know how to utilize that Cartesian coordinate system. And for me, working on a project, I like to keep everything positive, or going off of a center point to your dimensions. It seems like it works a whole lot easier. Alright, now I want to bring back up that Cartesian coordinate map, and I'll insert that back in. And I want to show you how to do this incrementally. The incremental line method, or relative movement. I'll bring this back in here, and I'll zoom in. Now, when you do things relative or incrementally, what that means is that each line or each point you start from will be your new 0, 0. So you can use the absolute method and the incremental together. Now let's make more sense of it. If I'm starting a point, let me put some points on here. And let's say we're starting right there. We're going to go to here, and we're going to go up to here. Maybe we're going to go to right there, and then over here. Now, in absolute coordinates, this would be 0, 0. X would be 3, 0. Coming up, or this next point, X would be 3 and Y would be 2. This point right here would be X would be 2, Y would be 1. This point would be 0 in X and Y would be 1, and then close it at 0, 0. However, if you utilize the relative movement, see how this one's always your 0, 0? If you use relative, what it does is, like this point, we're going to go off this one, and it would still be the same as absolute because this is our 0, 0. This would be 3, 0. But after this point, if you hit in the space like on AutoCAD, if you hit the at symbol before you do the movement, it turns this point, the last point I was at, 0, 0. So at this point, to get to this point, if you do it incrementally, all you have to do is hit at and 0 for X, and Y would be 2. If you hit the at button at this point, it makes this 0, 0. Temporarily makes it 0, 0 for that movement. I could hit at, and I'm going to go to this point. I could hit at, and X is going over from this point. If it's 0, X would be negative going this way. So X would be -1, and Y, because you're coming down below the origin, Y would be -1 to get to this point. If you hit at again to get to this point, you'd hit at, you're going left of our origin, so it would be at -2 for X, y would be 0 because you didn't move up and down from there. And then the last movement, if you use this and hit at after this one, this would be your 0, 0. So it would be at, x would be 0, comma, negative 1 to get to this point. And I'll draw this up for you. Now see how we done this one? And I'll put the dimensions up here. And what makes it helpful for incremental is I'll show you. Let's go ahead and get the dimensions, and we're going to draw this one, same little thing here, incrementally. Now I'm going to draw, now this was our 0, 0. However, if I were to start a drawing, and there might be a drawing out there that just starts randomly, it doesn't start on 0, 0, it's hard to be able to do much with absolute because you don't have a reference point to go off of. So, if I start at this point right here, if I hit at, like down here at the bottom, make sure everything's turned off but my snap, type in at, hit 5, because I want to come over to hit this point, so I need to come over in x5. So I hit 5, comma, and I'm not going up and down, so I hit 0, enter. Y'all see that? Now I need to go from this point up to 5. So just hit your at button, and in x I'm not moving, so hit 0 for x, comma, and I want to hit 5 because I'm going up to hit this point. Again, I hit at, and I want to come over here to this point. Now remember, x right here is my new 0, 0, and I want to come over here to 3, so hit at, negative 3, comma, 0 for y because we're not moving up and down from that new origin that we made. And those are just temporary origins, guys. Your origin is always 0, 0 is going to be right here where we started this other drawing, but we can make them temporary. That can help us to draw when we're away from that origin and we don't know where it's at. So another thing is we're coming on down here to this point, so hit add again and hit x is 0, comma, we're coming downhill 2.5, so it'd be negative 2.5, enter. And now I'm coming over, and we'll hit at, and I'm going to come over to this point. And I made a mess up, so I hit escape a couple times. Click that off, hit line, make sure my object snaps on. And hit line again. Click on this button. And I want to come over from this point to this point, so I'm going to hit at negative 2, comma, 0. And then the last point goes back down to here, so we're not moving in x any, so hit at 0 for x, negative because we're going downhill 2.5, enter. And if you can go around, do your measurements, they all should come out the same. And you got to watch out about something. So when I'm putting them on there, you can sometimes snap on your dimension line there, and he'll give you a funky looking number. If you go in there and look at it, zoom in, you can click on that, and you see that blue grip, you can grab it and bring it down to where it needs to go. Just like that. And again, I messed up and hit the wrong spot. If I just come back up here, click on it, there you go. So that's how you do things in absolute and incremental modes. And also in this drawing, you're going to go in and I think you're going to put a circle in. Now, one thing I want you to all remember is in circles, when you put these things in, you have the difference between radius and diameter. Radius is half the distance in the circle from the center point out. Diameter is the dimension of the whole circle. So what you want to do is hit circle, and for like this one, if we had something, let's say about 3 in x, just type in 3, comma, and we'll put it up about 3 in y. Let's see where that center point is. And it puts it right there, and then it asks you down here, specify, or do you want the diameter or do you want the radius? Right now it's going to give us the radius, but if you want diameter, I can click it right there. Let's say it's a 1-inch diameter. So I want to click on the D for diameter and type in just 1, enter, and it puts my diameter circle in there. Okay? So what I want you guys to do is I want you to go through the tutorial in that chapter that I have assigned and do those tutorials. And then in the exercise, you got 4 exercises. Do the first 2 in absolute and do the next 2 in incremental. And then we'll have those projects that you got to do, and what you're going to do with those, you can use either one you want, absolute or incremental, to get those done. So good luck on this. It's not too bad. Just don't overthink it, and if you have any problem, please contact me.